Oh no, where's my flashlight? Here it is. Are you experiencing an emergency power outage? Welcome aboard Crab Central Station. We can help you out. So we are experiencing record lows in Texas this week.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no.
Which got us to thinking we need to get prepared to take care of our hermit crabs in the case that we have a power outage, which is highly possible during this Arctic winter storm. Guys, it hasn't been this cold in over 100 years in Texas, they say, that we're about to have these coming days, that we're not even prepared for because we live in Texas. But anyways, we are going to tell you what we're doing to prepare in the case that we lose power this week. And I know for all of you that live in colder states up north and so forth, that you guys can lose power anytime during winter. And so this is a great video just to look and be prepared so that you can have these items on hand. That way we're not scrambling in a panic when we've already lost power, because those minutes, those hours are really valuable in saving our hermit crabs' lives. So this is what we're gonna try. Because of the winter Arctic freezing weather, we need to keep a really close eye on our hermit crab tanks. These are tropical animals and they have to have warm temperatures to live. They cannot survive in low temperatures. So we have to do our job to prepare in the case of a power outage when it's super cold and it's coming to our area. And the first thing we can do actually is prepare the room that the tank is in. So if there are any windows in the room where your hermit crabs are, go ahead and cover those windows with a blanket, curtains, blinds. You can put saran wrap over them, anything that you can think of, foam board or insulation, those types of things. You can cover your windows to really just keep the cold outside and those drafts down. The other thing that you can do in your hermit crab room is to increase the heat in the house, in the actual ambient area around your tank. If you know that cold weather's coming and there's a good chance that you might lose power, start increasing the heat in the room, because then it will take longer for that temperature to drop, the ambient temperature, which will of course help your temperature in your tank stay warmer longer. The other thing that you can do for the room is go ahead and close the door that the hermit crab tank is in, and you can put a blanket or a towel underneath to keep all the cold drafts from coming in the room. So those are 3 things that you can do to the room where your hermit crab tank is sitting. Now let's talk about what you can do to the actual tank to prepare for super cold weather and the possible power outage that might be coming your way. So they actually sell these emergency blankets. These are great to keep in your car, by the way, for you in an emergency. But I mean, that's what they're for camping, for people. But they're great for our tanks. So they're reflective. They're really pretty big, and they're very inexpensive. Obviously, they fold up. They great, space saver. But anyway, so they are reflective. So when you wrap this around the tank, go ahead and put it around the entire thing. You can even tape the bottom of it against your tank so that it actually holds all that heat that is already in your tank, because of course your heat pad is not working. Your under the tank heater is no longer working. You lost power. So this little emergency blanket is going to hold as much of that heat inside your tank for as long as possible while you're having your power outage. But this isn't good enough just by itself. In addition to that, you want to get a heavy blanket, big and heavy blanket, and you're going to place this over your entire tank as well. This includes the top of the tank, all the way down the sides, all the way behind. Remember, your heat mat's off, so there's no fire hazards back there by having a blanket. You really want to have a heavy blanket, and the colder it gets in your house, add blankets. Okay, so you want to keep those crabbies as warm as possible. The next thing that you can do is add styrofoam if you happen to have that in your house. Sometimes people have extra sheets of it, or like a foam board for a school project. I know that we have some of those just kind of laying around. And you could also place those over your emergency blanket before your big heavy comforter. All right, you're really thinking about layers. How can I best insulate this tank as quickly as possible when that power outage happens to keep all the heat in the tank? Again, just preparing your tank ahead of time If you know cold weather is coming and this is a possibility, then go ahead and fill all your food dishes while your heat is working. Make sure your pools are ready and clean with fresh water, because as soon as that power goes out, guys, you do not want to open the top of your tank unless you absolutely have to. All right, so that's why I'm saying go ahead and tape the ends down and everything as best as you can to keep the heat in. So you got your room all ready and prepared, and you have your tank really well insulated, and you're just kind of hanging out in your really dark, cold house, hoping that electricity comes back on. But what if it doesn't? What if it's going to be a long time, another day or two, or you're not even really sure, and the temperatures continue to plummet in your house? You're getting really cold, and so are your crabs. So I'm going to give you a few things to do in extreme measures during an emergency that will help to raise that temperature in your tank if you need it. Again, this is only if your temperatures continue to plummet and your insulation and things that you've already done aren't working and you need to add more. These are some things you can try. First of all, you're going to take some water bottles and fill them with really hot to boiling water. So for us, we have like a camper stove, a Coleman camper stove. It's gas, propane, little tiny propane tanks. And so we can get a small pot of water to heat up water that way in the case of an emergency outage. Some people have gas stoves. Lucky for you, I don't, but you could just heat up yourself some water on your stove if that's the case. But anyways, kind of think of that when you're preparing for these type of situations. If you know you have a really bad storm coming your way, you can make sure that if you already have a Coleman stove, that you have propane and that sort of thing. So go ahead and fill up those water bottles with really hot water and place them at different parts of your tank, and that will help to heat up the air and the sub actually in your tank as well. Another thing you can try, and this is something you would have to have on hand, and you can keep these, store them. They're great. They're hot hands, and you break them and shake them up and they get really warm. You can wrap them like in a little washcloth or something and put them in your tank, and that will really help raise your heat as well, especially if you insulate them. They'll last longer. The other thing that you can try is called a terracotta pot stove. And this is something you can research online. We're going to put a link in the description below about all of this to you guys so you can read all about it. Now, this terracotta pot stove is completely at your own risk. There's definitely a fire hazard with this. So like I said, it's extreme measures, but this would actually help you stay warm as well as your crabs. If you wanted to try something like this, do your research and make this decision for yourself. But basically the idea is that your terracotta pot is warmed up from the heat of a candle. And these long ones you can use and put them actually in a jar of Crisco, one candle in a jar of Crisco, and the Crisco will help it run a lot longer as well. We also have just some of the smaller ones. If these tall tapers kind of worry you, you can use these smaller ones. Again, we'll put it in this jar of Crisco, and you place it underneath your terracotta pot, and that will actually heat up your room, and by heating up the terracotta, and then it will have ambient heat coming off, so that will help keep your room warmer where your tank is as well. So that's an idea. You also need some bricks for that. So maybe we borrowed our bricks off of our outdoor fire pit. Not even kidding you guys, to get ready for this storm. And so you got to do what you got to do in an emergency. But hopefully we won't have to use this method. But we have everything we need on hand just in case it comes to that type of measure. Sometimes it will get to the point where you feel like you need to evacuate your house for the safety of your family. If your electricity is going to be out for an extended period of time, it just continues to get colder. I know here they're projecting wind chills of -15 for several days. So, if we lost power, it would be tough to stick it out for a week's time. So there may be a chance that you have to evacuate. And if it comes to that, here's some things to think about with your crabs. If you're going to a hotel or something to have heat, then you could easily get a tub. You probably have one of these in your house somewhere. Kids' toys, dump them out. I don't know, some extra winter clothes are sticking in here, or summer clothes or whatever. Dump it out, and you've got an easy tub right here. So you can put some sand in there or eco earth. You don't need a whole lot because they're not going to be molting in here. You just need enough to put at the bottom to cover the tub for them and get their basics in there. They probably want some hides, your water, your food, and things like that. Make sure you're going to take all of that with you so that their needs are being met. Obviously, you're not going to have a heat pad for this because there's no electricity anyway, and this is an emergency situation. But you can wrap your tote in a blanket to keep them warm while you travel to the hotel. And you can keep a blanket on them at the hotel as well. That will help them keep warm. So if you have molters during this emergency evacuation, you have to make kind of a decision for your crabs. If you think you're going to be away for more than 24 hours, 2, 3, 4 or longer days, then you may want to dig up your molters. I know we never say dig, but this is an emergency. So if your house is already 50 degrees or lower, that is dangerous temperatures for your crabs, even your molters, for an extended period of time. So if you're going to be gone for a long time, you need to probably go ahead and dig up your molters. Unfortunately, when you dig up molters, it can cause death, but leaving them in frigid, cold air will cause death. So that's your call as far as how long you're going to be away. Short periods of time, go ahead and leave your molters and just take the crabs that are on the surface with you. But again, yeah, if you have to dig them up because you'll be gone for an extended period of time, they have a better chance going with you than staying in the freezing cold substrate in your house that's just continuing to get colder and colder. So that's what you would do with your crabs and molters in the case that you need to evacuate your house. Let's just take a second to summarize everything you need in an emergency kit. Maybe you're watching this video and you're in like tropical Florida, I don't know, but this way you can be prepared in the case that you ever had this crazy cold Arctic air coming to you like we are in Texas. Now I'll be prepared for anything in the next 100 years when we get this kind of weather. But anyways, no, those of you that live up north, it'd be totally awesome to go ahead and have a kit like this ready to go in your garage so that you're not scrambling at the last minute. And these are the things that you need in your kit. Some sort of insulation, whatever works best for you, and pre-cut works best. So if you want foam board, go ahead and cut it to the size of your tank. Again, you don't have power usually, when you're doing this, so it's nice to have it already done. Or you can use this emergency blanket, have one for every single tank that you have, because they're all gonna need their own little blankets. You wanna have hot hands, several of these for each of your tanks as well. Nice big blankets, 1 or 2 per tank, depending on where you live and your weather, you'll know kind of what you need. Also, if you're planning on doing the clay pot thing, you're gonna need a terracotta pot. You're gonna need candles, and you might want a jar of Crisco if that sounds good to you. Also, for that terracotta pot, you need bricks. So if you have some loose bricks in your landscaping that you can steal like we did, that'll be fine. But if you don't, think about getting just a couple bricks that you can drop like in a tub. This would be a great thing just to store all of this in and then just label it, Hermit Crab Emergency Kit or something. But throw a couple bricks in there. If you read in the description below where we're gonna link all this information, you'll see that you can also heat up a brick to put in your tank as well. So drop a couple bricks in there if you want. Also, a roll of tape is really helpful because remember, you're gonna wanna tape this emergency blanket around the bottom of your tank. You might even wanna tape your actual big blankets that you're putting there too, because you're really trying to hold all that heat in there. The last thing that you need to make sure you put in your kit is some type of bottle or jug that can hold that boiling water in the case that you need to add those to your tank. So maybe a couple of those per tank that you have. All right, I think that covers everything in your emergency kit. And we just really thank you guys for watching our channel and supporting us. And I really hope we don't lose power. But hey guys, keep safe, your family safe, and your hermit crab safe. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and that little bell to be notified when we drop new content. Follow us on our social medias. And until next time, you guys, take care. Thanks for joining us on Crab Central Station. Bye.